December 8th, 1980, one of my musical heroes, a guy that I admired so much, John Lennon, was shot and killed in New York City. And my friends and I were in high school, all Beatles fans. My friends and I formed our band in 1979, and that whole year we were just so into music, and especially the Beatles. And so when John Lennon announced that he was returning to the music industry after taking 5 years off to raise his son, Sean, it was so exciting to us. I'll never forget when they released the first single, Just Like Starting Over.
It's been too long since we took the time. No one's to blame. I know time flies so quickly.
It was just so thrilling to hear new music from John Lennon. Woman, Watching the Wheels, I'm Losing You, and especially Beautiful Boy.
Close your eyes. Have no fear.
Such beautiful songs, and I had been listening to all of the interviews that John was doing to promote this new album, and he sounded like he was in such a positive state of mind and had really just had an incredible experience raising his son, and had come out of that 5-year retirement with a brand new sense of optimism and hope.
I'm just sitting here watching the wheels go round and round. I really love to watch them roll. No longer riding on the merry-go-round. I just had to let it go.
I remember the night that it happened. I'll never forget it. I was driving home from work, making telephone calls, doing telephone surveys. I was driving home, and I just happened to be listening to the Beatles' Help album. As I was pulling up to my parents' house, where I still lived at the time, I was listening to Ticket to Ride. And I remember I'd heard Ticket to Ride countless times. I'd been a Beatles fan for years. But on this particular night, I was focusing in on John Lennon's vocal, the way that he sings that song.
She would never be free when I was around. Ah, she's got a ticket to ride. She's got a ticket to ride. She's got a ticket to ride, but she don't care.
I remember just thinking, man, he's just got the coolest voice, and his delivery is so awesome and so powerful and so unique. And so I listened to the end of Ticket to Ride, turned my car off and walked in the house. And my mom was sitting there with the kind of look that when something terrible has happened. And I'm thinking, somebody died. Somebody died. Who is it? Who died? I thought it was someone in my family. And she said, "Did you hear?" And I said, "No." And she said, "John Lennon was killed, shot." And boy, that hit me like a ton of bricks. I cried, and I went down and called my friend Fritz, I think that night, and we all went to school the next day, and they were going to have a vigil at some point. We ended up going down to Seattle. There was local news cameras there, and they actually interviewed my friend Dave, who was in the band, and my friend Bob, who was in the band. And amazingly, I have this audio recording of them being interviewed. I'd like to play that for you right now.
Good evening. Millions of people mourned the tragic death of John Lennon today, the young and the middle-aged. A sense of grief over the inexplicable slaying of Lennon.
There was an unmistakable feeling that these people had had part of their life taken from them. A week after John Lennon's murder, there was still disbelief.
I feel like I grew up with them, and I felt like I really did lose someone that I knew.
There was a letter of condolence to Lennon's widow for people to sign. A local minister asked that Lennon not be eulogized as someone divine.
He wasn't John the Beatle. He was John Lennon, a man like you and I. It's not what he said 20 years ago, because he was where you were 20 years ago. It's what he said in 1980. And what he was saying and wanted to say was hope, and he was wanting to say, love your family.
So it's not just a person that we lost, but it's also the music.
John Lennon was the most fantastic artist, musical artist ever. We've lost a whole lot.
So it was just so shocking when he was killed and so heartbreaking. And when I hear those songs from Double Fantasy, they just really hit me hard. John was such a brilliant artist, one of my 3 favorite songwriters of all time, and I still miss his music. I wish he were here today because I know he'd be commenting on how awful things have become in the music industry.